As safety continues to move away from enforcement and a lot closer to engagement, on this episode we're going to take a look at three-part strategy to create better buy-in to the safety program.
PeopleWork, the human touch in workplace safety. Available everywhere on Amazon. To learn more, go to kevburns.com/peoplework.
Who is the best teacher you ever had in high school? Who is the best boss you ever worked for? I mean, you immediately know the answers, don't you? But you know why they were such good teachers and bosses? That answer is not always apparent. But let me explain it better in context. I'm going to share with you the real people who were my best teacher in high school and my best boss. All right, first, best teacher was Bill Keon. Bill was my history teacher. He was my driving instructor. He was my coach on the high school curling team. I spent a lot of time with Bill Keon. He was patient, he was encouraging, and most of all, he was human. Bill wasn't afraid to get to know his students at a personal level, and he wasn't afraid to let his students get to know him personally. Bill and I stayed friends over the years. In fact, Bill and Eleanor were one of the first people my wife and I invited to our wedding 7 years ago. And sadly, Bill passed away a year and 5 days later from cancer. Bill always had a story. He had so many life experiences and always had a story to go with each experience. Now, Bill taught me a lot about a good story as a way to make a good point. He always had high expectations of me, always asked for a little more, knowing full well I had more to give. See, those are the people who really help define who we eventually become. Bill Keon, St. Joseph's High School, best teacher I ever had. Now, best boss I ever had. This took a little thinking, and over the years it turns out my opinion has changed from one former boss to another. I can honestly say today that Jim McLeod was the best boss I ever had. Jim was one of those guys who never had to prove that he was in charge. I mean, he knew it, we knew it, he didn't rub our faces in it. He got our respect because of who he was, not what he was. I remember I was 20 years old when I first worked for Jim at a radio station in Timmins, Ontario. He took a position as a regional manager of several radio stations for a different company in Alberta. And a few months into the new job, he flew back to Timmins, offered this 20-year-old kid the chance to move into management at a small radio station. He saw something I didn't see at the time, and he took a chance on me. He pushed me hard, made sure I got the skills, let me make mistakes, and I was better for it. Well, today, Jim and Bill's legacy both live on in me. The things they taught me, I'm hopefully doing them justice. But the two big things I learned are these. 1, don't be afraid to let other people see you as a real person. And 2, you won't need to assert your authority if you earn their respect. And that's the legacy I hope to be able to pass along one day too. Now, speaking of legacy, one of my clients recently brought up the DSL strategy from my book, PeopleWork, The Human Touch in Workplace Safety. It's page 115 if you're following along. It's chapter 6, Creating Employee Buy-in. We talked a bit about the DSL strategy in more detail because it was intended to be used in place of the shock and awe campaigns of gruesome photos and gut-wrenching videos and stories of don't do what he did. Safety's traditionally been focused on pointing out what workers could lose if they make decisions outside of safety, a limb, an eye, their life. Now, these gruesome images and threats are found more at safety meetings than anywhere else in the safety program. There are actually still some safety folks and supervisors that really believe this stuff is some sort of an effective motivator. But scaring people into compliance only gets temporary compliance with rules. Negative reinforcement as a motivator has very little lasting value, and it requires constant repetition. Each time you have to ramp up the degree of shock just to make an impression, and still the best you can hope for is simple rules compliance. But rules compliance is very different from a true buy-in to safety, so the argument has to change. This requires changing the conversation. Instead of focusing on what your people might lose, focus on what they'll gain. Present safety in a positive way to show your employees, managers, and contractors why embracing safety is good for them. Now, if you've not had the chance to read Chapter 6 in PeopleWork and all about the DSL strategy, here's a brief overview. First, the D stands for desire. What do your employees want in the short term? Big screen TV, new car, paying for their kids' education. Desire is all of the things that depend on having access to cash flow in the immediate present, today. Cash flow requires regular income. Unnecessary risk jeopardizes continuous cash flow, which prevents your ability to fulfill those desires. That includes what you do when you leave work too. When you're off shift, there's no insurance or workers' compensation. There's an even greater impact on your cash flow when you don't use your safety training at home. Now, get hurt at home, there's no recourse. You're going to be out of work. And when you're not working, cash flow stops, so choosing safety assures cash flow and fulfillment of those things you immediately desire. That's D, desire. The S stands for security. Employees don't want to ever be a burden to their spouse or kids. They don't want to experience financial crisis and be forced to downsize their lives. By choosing safety, employees can plan for the future and ensure their own security. Using your safety training provides long-term security. Now, part of that security focus involves a secure retirement. When you ask people what they plan to do when they retire, everyone has a story. It might include buying an RV or moving to a cabin in the woods or a beach house. Most people put money away each month in order to make it happen at age 65. But ask those same people if they have a plan for living long enough to reach retirement age, and most won't understand the question. Most people live each day without thinking about how what they are about to do will affect their retirement plans. Now think about it. Not everyone makes it to retirement age. Some people die before they retire. That's just a fact. But if you want to work the plan that helps you make it to retirement age, the safety program is that plan. It seriously increases your odds of living a healthy life. Just like putting money away each month for retirement, your people can start making smart decisions each day to reach retirement age safely. That's S for security. And finally, the L stands for legacy. In 20 years, if you're asked to give a speech on safety, would it be about how safety gave you a good life and good health, or how ignoring safety cost you your healthy retirement? Your legacy starts today. Each day you build on it. Legacy starts with decisions. Every day we make choices on and off the job, and these choices are part of how we build our legacy. Choices about alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, or even being overweight can adversely affect an employee's job performance and their long-term health. The decisions you make in the moment can move you closer to or further away from your ideal legacy. And the things you do today, just like in the case of Bill Keon and Jim McLeod, can be the legacy you leave behind in someone else. The final point of the DSL strategy is L, which stands for legacy. Desire, security, legacy. DSL. You know, a 100-meter sprinter works every day to knock 1/10 of a second off her best time. Why? Well, because it's enough to make the difference between winning or losing. Competitive athletes work on skills and techniques to maximize their potential. They fine-tune every day, and much of that fine-tuning takes place on the mental level. It's no different in frontline work. As a supervisor or frontline safety person, you can help employees remove the mental barriers to safety buy-in. Address the reasons, the excuses, and mental barriers that prevent employees from choosing safety. Help them see their list of desires, their need for long-term security, and the legacy they'll leave behind. Hash things out in the open discussion and encourage dialogue with your crew. Talk about D, S, and L. Facilitate safety meetings that allow your people to buy in to a positive plan, to move forward with safety as one of their guiding principles. Get them focused on desire, short-term cash flow, security, long-term investment, and legacy, the difference they make in the world. And tie it all to safety, and you have solid reasons to buy in.